Hello. So you want to go hiking either for blood pressure control purposes or you just want to keep yourself generally fit. How do you go about it? Well, that's what this video is about. I'm going to be talking about hiking tips to lower blood pressure. I know I did say it's to lower blood pressure, but like I said, if you're just doing it for fitness or just for fun, these tips will also help you. So that's what's coming up next. So stay tuned. I'll see you after the channel intro.
Now, for today's 2020 idea to better health, please welcome on stage Dr. Joe.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Dr. Joe of the drjoe.com. So, hiking. Hiking is a lovely thing to do. I can tell you this. I enjoy it. In fact, once you start doing it on a regular basis, you're going to develop a high from doing it, and the high can last for days. So releasing those endorphins is actually good for your mental health, apart from lowering your blood pressure. Okay, hiking will help to control your blood pressure. Even if you don't have blood pressure issues, hiking is just good fun. By the way, I'm restyling this presentation as hiking tips for beginners to lower blood pressure. The reason for this is if you're somebody who is considering advanced hiking, this is not the video for you. There are people who walk the entire Pacific Trail from the US-Mexican border in the south to the US-Canadian border in the north. I think the distance is about 2,400 miles or so. It takes about 3 to 4 months to complete. If that's something you're considering, these tips here, they're not for you. These tips here are for, newbies, people who are considering getting into hiking to actually improve their health. So if you're an advanced hiker, no, you're not going to find any tips here, please. So if you remember in my first video, the first part of this video, I talked about how 6 hours of walking per week can actually reduce your risk of dying from cardiovascular diseases and respiratory diseases. In addition to that, if you can walk 6 hours a week, you can actually prevent type 2 diabetes as well. And if you already have type 2 diabetes, walking 6 hours a week can actually help you to control, the type 2 diabetes. So it makes sense for you to actually get into hiking. And one thing good about hiking is that the 6 hours per week I'm talking about, you can actually incorporate the 6 hours into one hike. So it's sort of, in a perverse way, it's time efficient, if you like. It makes sense for you to engage with the sport of hiking because it's got all those advantages. So knowing that, how do you get started? Well, the first thing you should do is actually to join a group. And in the first part of this video presentation, the part 1, if you haven't watched it, it should be up there now. When you finish watching this video, you should go back and watch that. I talked about how you can join a local group. I gave you some tips there. So that's the first thing, you join a group. Now, the next thing is, having joined the group, where should you go hiking? Well, venue is very important. And in my opinion, I believe the countryside is the best place for you to actually do your hiking. The reason is, well, the countryside is quieter. You got beautiful sceneries. And the air is pure. You got really nice fresh air in the countryside. You will be at one with nature in the countryside. More importantly, it's the countryside. That's where you got the hills, the mountains, the climbs, the steep inclines, as well as the rough terrains. They're all there. Those are the things that are going to challenge your cardiovascular system, and that's how the benefits actually accrue from hiking. So the countryside is where hiking actually belongs. The next tip is preparation. If you're not used to hiking, it makes sense for you to actually prepare yourself before your first hike. The reason is this: you need to precondition your heart and your lungs for the task ahead. You see, hiking is, although it's walking, it is an endurance challenge. And your heart and your lungs have to be prepared for that. And indeed, your legs as well. So it makes sense for you to actually prepare. There's an article on my blog where I wrote about, where I gave tips on how to prepare for a hike. Well, in that article, I was actually preparing for a 60-mile hike. Well, you don't have to do everything that I said in that article. In actual fact, the last 2 weeks, because that was a 12-week preparation plan. But all you need to do is just take the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's all you need. And the reason for this, you need to precondition your heart and your lungs in readiness for the task ahead. That way you build up your stamina for the distance, for the speed, and as well as in readiness for the inclines, the steep inclines that you're going to encounter when you go for your hiking. And indeed, you should be aiming for a speed of about 3 miles an hour. That's about the speed you should be aiming at. Because when you go hiking, you need to keep pace with your group. You don't want to be left behind. So you need to build up that stamina and build up your speed in readiness for what's coming ahead. So you've joined the group, you've met with them, and you've chosen a hike, and you've trained yourself. In actual fact, part of the training is that you should walk for 3 hours non-stop in the city before you're ready to hit the countryside on your first hike. So now you're ready. What do you do the night before? Make sure the night before your backpack is ready. You got to put all the usual contents that I talked about in the first video. They should all be ready in your backpack. And don't forget your hat. Let me just wear that to demonstrate. Make sure your hat is in there. Your woolly gloves, they're in there. Now, one of the things the story I was going to tell you about in terms of why I prefer woolly gloves today to any other type of gloves is because I went on a hike once, and when you go hiking, you're going to sweat. So, your skin becomes moist. And I had these other gloves that, I was cold and I wanted to put on the gloves, and I couldn't slip my fingers through because my skin was moist. And since then, I now believe that, woolly gloves are the way to go. You just need... That's not going to happen with woolly gloves. Your fingers will slip in very easily, regardless of whether your skin is moist or not, because you're going to sweat inevitably when you go on a hike. So make sure you got that ready. Oh, by the way, woolly gloves and hat, they are only applicable, maybe you know this already, to people living in cold countries. If you live in a cold country like I do, that's when you need the woolly gloves and the hat. If you're living in a place like the Caribbean, Africa, the Middle East, of course you don't need this. You don't need the woolly gloves and the hat. Your water bottle, fill it up. This one is a liter. I usually have lemon in mine, squeeze lemon into mine. Fill it up with water. What else? Now, in terms of food, I should say this. This is one occasion where you're allowed to have some unhealthy foods. And I'm referring to things like chocolates here. This is a chocolate bar. And here is another. I tend to have chocolate bars in my backpack as part of the contents for my backpack. The reason for that is when you go on long hikes, there will come a time when your muscles will be depleted of their glycogen stores, and on those occasions your muscles are going to be fatigued as time goes on, and that's when you need something like a chocolate bar to just help with that energy boost. You may have, soda drinks, sugary drinks, like Coca-Cola, Fanta. You could have them. You allow them only because you need that quick release of glucose into the circulation to feed your muscles. Otherwise, your muscles will feel fatigued. So you allow those on a hiking trip. As far as food is concerned, you also need to prepare whatever you're going to have as lunch have it ready and put it in an airtight container and have it in your bag on the morning. Don't forget it in the fridge because that can happen as well. So that's that as far as food is concerned. The next tip I want to talk about is clothing. Your hiking apparel is crucial to the success of any hiking outing, and because you need to protect yourself from the element. The rain, the cold, the wind is all there. In terms of the cold, I wear 3 layers of clothing underneath my jacket. You may choose to wear how many layers you're comfortable with. And I've got my hat, I've got my woolly gloves, and of course the bandana as well. That protects me from the cold and the wind. As far as the rain is concerned, the jacket you saw me demonstrating in the first video, that jacket is waterproof. My trousers are waterproof. Even these shoes, water rolls off them like water rolls off the back of a duck. Also, don't forget to have socks that are lined. Lined socks will absorb the moisture, the sweat from your feet. That way you don't develop any blisters, because blisters will just completely kill the hiking experience. Now, the other thing I will need to talk about is your shoes. It is important you have the correct shoe size as well as the comfort. If your shoes are uncomfortable, I can tell you you're not going to do more than 2 miles and you'll be back home before you know it. Here's another tip. If you buy a new pair of shoes, please try them out in the city before you take them out on a hiking trip. the hiking trip should not be the first place you want to try out new shoes, because you want to make sure they're comfortable, they're the right fit, and they do what they say on the tin. Next is distance. How long should you hike for? Well, here's the thing. I want you as a beginner, because remember we're talking about newbies who are just getting into hiking. I want you to start off with a 10 and 12 mile hikes. Once you've done the 10 and the 12 mile hikes, your confidence is going to grow, and then you can step it up to 14 miles and then 16 miles and then 18 miles before you will consider going on the 20 something mile hikes. You don't have to do the 26 mile hikes if you don't want to. If you're comfortable with just the 16 mile, you can stop there. In fact, that's a medium distance anyway, so that's just good enough. So the point I'm making is I don't want this. I don't want the distance of 26, 30, 40 miles to put you off hiking. Start small, and you then eventually decide what you're comfortable with. If you feel, okay, I'm just all right with 16 miles, you stop there. Hiking 16 miles a week is probably just enough. So you don't have to do the 26 miler. That's the only thing I'll say about distance. But if you feel you want to move on to the longer distances, then by all means, do the 26 and 30 miles. Next tip is frequency. How often should you go hiking? Well, here's what I say. In my hiking group, there is a hike every Wednesday and every Saturday, and sometimes on Sunday. So we have a hike midweek, and then there's one on the weekend. Well, if you're retired, you got plenty of time on your hands that you can go on 2 hikes a week, if your group is like that. But if for people like us who are still working, then the midweek hike, that's out of the question for us. So you should endeavor to go on the weekend hikes if you can. So once a week is okay. Twice a week is even better. But once a fortnight is also good. Even once a month. The thing is, I just want you to go hiking. Do it as often as you can. That's the message here. The next tip is about phones. Should you take your phone with you? Of course you should. Especially when you have a smartphone, you can actually download the hiking route onto your phone. And that will help with navigation. So, that's one purpose. The second and most important reason is that you should be contactable. I'm encouraging you to go hiking, but at the same time, I don't want you to expose yourself to unnecessary risks. So it's nice for you to take your phone in the sense that if there's a problem, you can reach out. And also if people need to reach you, your family need to get in touch with you, they can also reach you as well. So you should be contactable. So take your phone with you. And of course, there's the other flimsy reason of taking photographs or maybe recording some videos of important things that you see en route. So, taking your phone, yes, I'll advise have your phone with you all of the time. The next thing I want to talk about is ascents, and by that I mean the inclines. For you to actually get the true benefits of hiking, you need to challenge your heart and your lungs. So that cardiorespiratory challenge is very, very important. And where do you get that? Well, you're going to get that from the incline. So whoever is planning your hiking, make sure that the hiking route should include a total ascent of at least 2,000 feet. Ideally 3,000. If you want to push it, 4,000 and 5,000, because when you get to such heights, then of course that you're going to really get those benefits, and you get fitter with time. One of the things people don't talk about is hiker's high. I'm sure you've heard of runner's high. Well, hikers have their own equivalent, and that's the hiker's high. When I go on a hike on a Saturday, by Wednesday of the following week, I'm still feeling high from the hike of the previous Saturday. And that's because hiking actually releases a lot of endorphins and endocannabinoids. And these chemical substances actually give you that high, and the high can last for a good number of days. So hiking is good for your mental health, just as it's good for your physical health. It's good for your brain, your heart, your lungs, your legs. So you've got all of those benefits to reap from hiking. Now, these tips I've just been given here, they've been coming at random into my head. Hopefully I haven't missed out on any. And if I've missed out on any, I'm going to probably leave it in the commenting section. So if you've got anything to say, please say it in the commenting section. Here's something else I suggest. I did say you should go hiking in a group. Well, we can take it to another level. Take somebody you already know. Take a friend with you on a hike to join the group as well. So both of you join the group together. So what you do is send these 2 videos, the first part and this one. Send the 2 videos to your friend. and so that he or she can actually watch the 2 videos, and that will motivate them to actually join you in your quest for a new lease of life with hiking. And you know, you both join the group and then you go on a hike together. It's nice to go on a group. It's even better when you go with somebody you already know. Yeah, so I think that's about it for this video. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe. The subscription button is just right there. That's about it. I don't think there's anything I've left out. Like I said, if I left out anything, I'm probably going to say it in the comment section. So that's about it. Until next time, well, this is Dr. Joe signing out.